consecrations. So it's been a handful of weeks. For that, I apologize. But we're going to jump right back into it. I figured we'd take a look at a project I've been working on for about 8 years off and on. The last 2 years very intensely, to the point I think it's going to be the end of me. There's been a few times I've thought about selling it, doing away with it, just getting rid of it and taking up knitting or something. But whoa, I didn't know it was sitting right there the whole time. So this week I figured we'd take a look at my 93 Jeep Cherokee. It's a little off topic of what we've done so far on the channel. And while we wait for the sun to come up, why don't you comment down below about some projects you've worked on for years and thought was going to be the end of you. This is my 1993 Jeep Cherokee XJ. It's a 2-door base model. About the only factory option it came with was ABS. So it has manual windows, manual locks, no center console, no rear dome light, no rear defroster. Real basic Jeep on the inside. As far as under the hood, it did come with the inline 6, the automatic transmission, and the 231 transfer case. It came with the Dana 30, Dana 35 axle package, geared in 355s. As far as the exterior color, I've never looked it up to see what it was from factory, and the interior is beige. That should pretty much cover all the factory specs on it. Looking under the hood here, one of the first modifications I did to the Jeep was a 96 and newer double baffle booster and master cylinder. Awesome upgrade on the older XJs. I also found a non-ABS partitioning valve and completely gutted all the ABS. It does have new case suspension fuel injectors, new exhaust manifold and exhaust all the way back. About 5 years ago, I completely rebuilt the cooling system with AutoZone basic parts. The main thing I did was completely flush the system multiple times. This Texas-based XJ will stay cool in the summer, or at least normal operating temperatures. I did the AC delete and the alternator relocation bracket multiple years ago. The extra relay box is just mocked up. I'm not using it yet. I got a home built big wiring upgrade. All the grounds and positives have been upgraded to 2-gauge wiring. That's an awesome upgrade on your older vehicles. Previous owner done aftermarket motor mounts, throttle body spacer, and it has a Viper alarm and remote start. I'm not too thrilled about. About the only thing I'd like to do under the hood is I do want to reroute the intake through the hood, kind of the Humvee style. I know that'll make some of you cringe, but I don't like snorkels and I don't like the cowl intake idea. But other than that, I just hope I could keep it maintained and running for a while. Good morning. Got out here early so we could finish this walk around on this Jeep Cherokee. But first, check out the sunrise. Coming up over a little local lake. A lot of fishermen out. Early bird gets the worm, I guess. Anyways, what we're here for is this thing. Alright, as we start looking at the body, it's pretty rough. I got fooled by lipstick on a pig. Doors falling off, typical XJ fashion. They tried to repair it, but it's not holding up. I'll have to re-weld it, completely repair it someday, or just let them fall off, whatever comes first. Up here they completely filled the rain gutter with Bondo, and this roof line is a lot of Bondo, a lot of rust. I repaired it on the other side. I'll show you when we get over there. As far as actual panels, they're all straight, pretty straight. It's just the truck's crooked. Here it had the body armor on it. The other side was falling off. This side I tore up the Jeep getting it off. About right. As far as upgrades, it does have the front and rear Smithy built bumpers. I don't know if I like them as much as I did when I first got the Jeep, now that I know a lot more about them. It does have a 9 9,500 pound Quadratec winch. Amazon lights, nothing fancy. This side's a little better looking as far as the body lines. Up here you can see where I've cleaned out the drip rail, actually cut out, put in some metal panels, or a metal panel I guess. Got it painted for now. We'll have to do more later. Taking a look at the interior. Of course, first thing you notice, manual windows, manual locks. Like I said, that was a must when I wanted to buy one of these Jeeps. The interior, about the same shape as the rest of the Jeep. Kind of rough. However, I do have just about everything to fix up this dash. The old bezel over there that's cracked, and the dash, I just got to get around to swapping them out. Being a base model, has plenty of space for auxiliary switching. We'll move over to the passenger side so we can see the center console. So back over here to the passenger side. Like I said, I do have that bezel there. We'll replace it someday. I just haven't wanted to pull the dash out of here. I did find this center console out of a parts Jeep. It's painted. It was blue. Mounted my little CB in the front cubby hole. And since these older Jeeps didn't have cup holders, I turned the back compartment of the console into cup holders using a piece of plywood and cup holders out of a 4-door Dodge. Moving into the back is where I've done probably my most custom work on here, or hand-built work. This is a cargo rack. We eliminated the rear seat since it's a 2-door. This gives us a lot of room. We could put a backpack on either side, my wife and I, and holds our cooler. I did have to relocate the seat belt mounting locations. The seat belt is held in by the rear seat on these. Alright, looking at it from the back hatch now. First thing I want to mention, I realize this is not rollover protection. It's not strong enough. It was designed strictly for cargo, separation, and storage. For those that are Jeep fans, that is the 8-slot grill that is found in the front of my year model Cherokee. Pretty much exact replica almost. Something else I done back here, when I had the interior out, instead of putting the carpet back in the back, I used a 3/4 stall mat for horses. Cut it into fit. And I've never owned a Jeep with the hatch cover. I used some diamond plate, aluminum, and built my own hatch cover. Working out pretty good, looks alright. So one thing I did forget to mention about the interior is I just got it all put back together. The passenger floor pan had rusted out. I had to remove all the interior to replace it, and then it also gave me room to build the cargo rack. Looking at the suspension now, I'm sure that's what a lot of you have been waiting on. It's a Jeep thing. I'm sitting at just over 5 inches of lift. I was aiming for 4.5. I'm also running 31-inch tires right now, hoping to upgrade to 33s in the near future. But starting up front, I'm running Ironrock's sway bar disconnects. They're horrible. I've heard all disconnects suck, but these definitely do. I have 4.5-inch Rubicon Express coils with 3/4-inch spacers, and I'm running a 12-inch shock up front. In the center, I got the Ironrock 3-link critical path long arm kit installed, Rough Country SYE, and Adams Driveshafts front and back. In the rear, I'm running 3.5-inch leafs from Rubicon Express, the adjustable boomerang shackles from Ironrock, and Ruffstuff's no lift shackle relocation brackets. build, I've been calling it the ultimate day tripper. Kind of in between an overlander and a full-on trail rig. It will be trailered to farther destinations. I'll drive it on the highway locally. I'm trying to keep it roadworthy enough to maintain 65 down the highway. But I need it to be able to get my wife and I over some of the more rugged national forest roads, over some of the Rocky Mountain passes, and I want it to house all the gear for us to be able to self-recovery or hunker down if we needed to. There's some pretty extreme conditions in Colorado and New Mexico, especially at 14,000 feet. And then even here in Texas, we range from 105 in the summer for a couple weeks straight. And believe it or not, the part of Texas I live in, we could see temperatures as low as 5 degrees and a wind chill of -20. It could get pretty cold in my parts of Texas. So I wanted to house all the gear that we may need in the event of emergency. We don't want to necessarily camp out of the Jeep, but if we need to hunker down, we're going to have an emergency shelter and stuff on the Jeep. And that's why I call it the ultimate day tripper. So what's my future build plans? Well, as of right now, those are non-existent. I'm not going to really do anything else to this. There is a couple things I want to address and will address. And then of course there's always small stuff on Jeeps and things like this that you got to address. But it's been sitting here in this garage for nearly 2 years now. I just done all the suspension we talked about in this video, the floor pan repair, the roof repair, the interior modifications, the exhaust manifold, and more work on the motor. I just done all that over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years, and I'm ready to get it out and play with it. So other than upgrading the tires, I will step those up to some newer 33-inch tires. Right now it has 31s. And then let me show you this. This is about the only other thing that's real pressing to me, and I want to get this finished up pretty soon. Check it out. So for those that don't know, this is part of the shackle relocation bracket. This is actually a plate that sandwiches the body of the Jeep to give you extra support for your bolts. And I rebuilt mine at a 1/4-inch plate, and then I attached this tubing on it that'll act as a receiver in the future. And of course those are on both corners of the Jeep for your release springs. And what the plan is in the future is to attach to about the midsection of this cargo rack, run out horizontal, and then in the back dive down and tie into the tubing there. We'll also utilize these factory mounting locations for support. But what that's going to allow me to do is I'll be able to stand my spare up on this side. I'll have a shelf across the front, and then on this arm we'll attach some gear to it somehow or some way, maybe a jack or the shovels or something. And that's kind of how I plan to get all my gear and stuff organized in the back of this thing. What I'm really hoping this cargo rack achieves is, first of all, it needs to secure my spare tire. I don't need a missile if I get in a wreck. And then with the shelf and structure, I'll have a way to get all this gear up off the floor. I want to leave as much floor space open as possible for whatever else I choose to do that day. If I'm not trail riding, if I go hunting and decide to harvest an animal, or if I want to go fishing, or even go on a picnic, I just want as much cargo space as possible, and I think the rack's going to help me achieve that. So just like any project, once you get this much time and effort invested in it, you always want it to be nicer and bigger and better in the long run. One thing I'd really like to do, I really hope I can preserve this body on this 2-door XJ. The 2 doors are a little bit more rare, they're sought after. I personally would prefer a 4-door, but this is what I got stuck with. And it'd be real nice to be able to preserve the body on this 2-door XJ. As far as any other future work, Marketplace is killing me, and I have started to build a stash for the future. Let's check some of that stuff out. So I did happen upon a factory Dana 44 for these Jeep Cherokees. They're pretty rare, hard to come by. I would like to build it someday, and if I do, I'll just pair it with the Super 30 build, and I think that combination will support what I want to do with this Jeep pretty well. Something else I already have in my stash, if I decide to tear into this Jeep again, is a full frame stiffener kit front to back. Now this is a thinner kit than what most advertise, but for $150 and what I'm using my Jeep for, I think this will be just fine. So where should you look out for me? Where might you run into me in the Jeep? I'll tell you, just so happens, Big Bend is about 7 hours that way. The best parts of Colorado, 7 to 9 hours that way. Red River and the Enchanted Circle in New Mexico, 5 hours that way. Parts of the Ozarks, about 8 hours that way. And about 45 minutes that way is Mers Adventure Park. Appreciate you watching. Give me a thumbs up down below, and we'll catch you next time.